Today I crapped myself on my way to work. What is the most horrific thing you have done in public? Christmas Day, 2 years ago, all dressed up, ready to go out with my family to a nice restaurant for an early dinner. My stomach is upset from overindulging on eggnog the night before, but I'm doing okay. I'm the first one out the door and the step is icy. I slip on the stairs and onto the snowy lawn, having shat myself. My skirt has offered no protection and there is a crap splatter over the pristine snow. My family is laughing at me. I get up, go back inside, take a shower and get in my pajamas. I didn't need Christmas anyway. I love this story. Honestly, I would prefer laughing to people just acting quiet and horrified. I had just got my first job and wanted to eat there with a friend. We walked 1.5 miles and both ate this breaded hot dog covered in melted cheese monstrosity before heading back home. Almost back home and my friend is urging me to walk faster because he is going to crap himself and out of nowhere I start barfing. It's a busy intersection and I'm compelled to keep pace with my friend, who's moving faster and faster towards my house. I threw up 5 times in under a minute at a mild jog with people gasping in their cars as they watch me. He's grabbing his butt as he runs. I'm 20 feet behind, ralphing everywhere. It would have been weird to see. It would have been even more hilarious if he had started to crap himself. I can just imagine 2 guys running through the streets. One crapping all over the place, the other puking right over it. I was at the mall when I was 12 years old, eating KFC as kids like to do. For some reason that was the day I decided to try eating a 3-piece meal with all the sides. It turns out that I couldn't handle that much food at the time and after a while I could feel the vomit train making its way to my mouth. In my mad dash for the bathroom, I was stopped by mall security for running and endangering others. I was only able to get out a few tearful words before the toxic sludge that was 1/2 original recipe and half macaroni salad came spewing out like a broken fire hydrant all over the guard's shoes. He totally deserved it. I crapped myself in kindergarten and my dad hosed me off in the yard. I must have looked like father getting scrubbed down. It's powdered sugar. It's delicious. Didn't happen to me, but back when I was in play school, the only thing I remember was sitting beside this girl during story time. She raised her hand to go to the washroom as she said she wasn't feeling well. The teacher said wait till after the story. She responded by barfing all over herself and kept eye contact with the teacher the entire time. Even at 4 years old, I thought it was hilarious and just about died laughing. The eye contact part is what got me. I'm going to try and do that if I ever have to barf in public. I have Crohn's disease and almost every day sitting in traffic I fight this battle. I have an extra set of work clothes and regular clothes in my trunk at all times. That's a battle nobody likes to fight even once. I can't imagine having to climb into the trenches every day. I hope you land a shorter commute. When I was like 7 I sneezed in church and it made me fart at the same time and it was during a silent prayer part and everyone in the dang church started laughing. Obviously, at the ripe old age of 18, I am still scarred. The Holy Spirit is among us. I shat myself one cold winter's evening, on my way to a nightclub. My best mate and I were walking down to the club, which is about 1.5 miles away from where we lived. It was a pretty cold and frosty evening. As we got close I figured there'd be a bit of a queue and it'd be worthwhile nipping into a dark corner and having a pee. I duck into an alleyway and start to pee. Out of nowhere and with no warning I just eject a stream of hot liquid crapple down the back of my legs. I was wearing beige khaki combats, and I'm fairly sure I was steaming gently. There's basically frick all I can do now. I am as far from my house as I was going to get that evening. I just walk out, tell my mate I've got to go home, and proceed to waddle the 1.5 miles home trying to stay far enough away from people that they won't notice the brown streaks smell steam. I actually ended up getting home, cleaning myself up and having a bath, got changed and went back out but I couldn't really salvage the evening. I once bought new pants and they were a bit too long, but I thought they were great so I wore them anyway. Went to school, tripped on the bottom of my pants, fall up the stairs, and being so scared that I fell, I crapped myself. I was 16 and had to tell the secretary why I was going home. Could not have been worse. I asked a girl from school out once. We had taken the train into the city and were hanging out with friends in a park. Felt a huge fart brewing. So, being on my best behavior, I unobtrusively moved away from the group to let it rip. Did that bit where you clench your teeth and screw your eyes up as you get ready to let loose something major, and away I went. Except I was horrified to hear no sound at all, and instead just felt buckets of wet warmth inside my jeans. After a few panic-stricken seconds frozen to the spot, during which I had time to stress to myself very forcefully that this was an extremely bad situation, I snuck off to the toilets, used rolls and rolls of toilet paper trying to clean up, but there was absolutely no salvaging the situation. Went back to the group in a somewhat chastened mood and announced, while keeping my distance, that I wasn't feeling good and would get the train home. Now, just at the point where I thought it would be impossible for the day to get any worse, the girl I had asked out got up and said she was tired too, and that she would be coming back on the train with me. It was a 50-minute trip in a crowded carriage. One morning, instead of farting like I usually do after getting out of bed, a warm, sloppy medium-sized turd fell out onto the floor. I looked down at it, we exchanged glances, then I proceeded to clean it up. I'm picturing a sloppy turd with googly eyes. I got super drunk at a football game and went to the bathroom. I was so relieved until I looked down and realized I didn't whip my dong out. My pants were soaked with pee and I was too drunk to be embarrassed about it. When I was pregnant, I went to the mall and got a horrible case of morning sickness. It hit really suddenly, so I stopped at one of those kiosks in the walkway and threw up in their trash can. As I was throwing up, my child decided to kick me in the bladder, making me pee myself. That was a fun day. I overdid it at a Chinese buffet, and as we were leaving, my friend cracked a joke. I laughed really hard and then threw up all over the table. The waitress looked ruined for life, threw a rag at me and yelled, "You clean up." No, and stormed off. I had a miscarriage, and usually, a woman should not expect her next period for at least 6 weeks afterward. So 3.5 weeks after the miscarriage, getting my period was the last thing on my mind. Anyway, my husband took me to a cycling store to look at some nice bikes since we are planning on getting back into cycling this summer. After talking to the sales rep, he offers to size me on a Madone 3.1. Why the heck not? I haven't been on a bike in a long time, so what's the harm in getting to ride a beautiful piece of bike engineering? So we do the sizing, which takes about 30 minutes. And though I agree with him that it feels wonderful, I insist that I cannot afford a $3,000 bike on a PhD student's salary. So I swing off the bike to go collect my husband. My blood freezes. I go pale and wobbly. My stomach starts to crawl up my throat. There on the white saddle of a Trek Madone 3.1 is a fresh red-brown smudge. Did he see? Is he going to make me clean it? Should I offer to clean it? Can we afford to replace the seat? I looked back at the sales rep. He doesn't seem to look uncomfortable, so perhaps he hasn't noticed. While pointing over at a beautiful Cervelo, I furiously try to wipe the seat clean with my sleeve. Heck, it's the least I can do. As the sales rep goes over to the Cervelo, I grab my husband by the arm, inform him that we are leaving the store immediately and that we can never go back. TLDR. I perioded on a $3,000 bike. When I was 6, I threw up on the teacher's feet while she was wearing socks and sandals. She was a very nice lady about it. That's what she gets for wearing socks and sandals. When I see that, I want to puke. Pee myself in an assembly at primary school. The headmaster was handing out detentions to those who went during the assembly. Edit. Okay, I feel like I should add more detail. I have 500 upvotes after all. Holy frick. Okay, so this assembly, we were told it could be long. So you should go to the toilet. No one did. About 20 minutes in, at least 15 kids made it. Before the head threatened detentions. I'd never been in detention and didn't plan on starting, so I did what every smart kid would do. I tried to hold it. I go another 15 minutes before a puddle starts to surround me. It's at this point the head realized he fricked up. When I was 10, I had diarrhea, but I made it to the toilet. Moments later, I heard my brother running up the stairs yelling about how badly he had to pee. I jumped up and hid behind the door as he ran in and started to pee. I jumped out and scared him and he peed all over the wall. Awesome. Unfortunately, I started laughing so hard I projectile diarrheaed all over the wall. He still tells that story 18 years later. I went to Catholic mass with my grandma and mom the morning after a night of heavy drinking. I was feeling nauseated during the service, but it wasn't until the last few minutes I knew I was going to vomit. There were no bathrooms in the building, so I had to go outside and vomit right outside the church. People were arriving for the next mass, watching me throw up in the grass. Made my grandma and mom really proud that day. Nothing to see here, folks. Just exorcising the evil spirits. I was drinking at a friend's house and decided to stay the night there. We were all kind of bunked up in the spare room and I was on the floor. I'm laying on my back and had just finished the last of the vodka, mixed with Odge and Gatorade, with a friend while we were talking as I started to doze off. I had just gotten over a sinus infection, so I had a lot of drainage until I projectile vomited a green snot and vodka mixture into the air and straight back into my face. The incident was referred to as AC slime. God, it burned my eyes. At least it was your own face. A friend of mine threw up after drinking into my other friend's face, specifically her open mouth. Well, I think the Waffle House incident was my most humbling experience of years past. I had spent a long night drinking more booze than I thought was possible for a single human being to drink. A good, drunken time was had by all, and I happily bathed on the floor before being dragged to my hotel room and tossed into bed by concerned partygoers at 4 in the morning. My morning wake-up call came at about 10 AM and I was told that we would be heading to Waffle House post-haste, and to prepare myself for cheap breakfast food. Yummy. I showered, dressed and went downstairs and joined my group to go to Waffle House, where I ordered up a big, greasy hangover-curing meal when the urge to urinate hit me. No problem. I got up and walked, still half drunk, to the lockable, single person at a time bathroom, entered it and began to do my business. I had been saving up what I thought was a fart and let it fly in the comfortable privacy of the Waffle House bathroom. Big mistake. What I thought was a methane deposit that could power a small city for a week turned out to be pure, vile liquid that rocketed out of my butt like a chunky geyser, which snaked its way down the backs of my legs and eventually reached my socks before I, dumbfounded, could think in any way about what just happened. Frick, I just crapped my pants at Waffle House while taking a leak. Pants came off in a panic, nothing on them, miraculously, and so I placed them somewhere relatively safe and focused on the matter at hand. Nothing on the shoes, either, thanks to the buffer that the socks had created between them and the source of the brown jelly streaming down my legs. They came off. That left me with soiled boxers and socks. The boxers went right into the trash can, never to be seen again, having died a heroic death in the process of saving my pants from soiling. That's when I noticed that there was no toilet paper in this little hellhole. Plan B, wipe with paper towels. No paper towels, either? Well, this just got interesting. I looked down and grunted. My socks were still relatively clean where I hadn't shat upon them, and were the only thing I could resort to without going out of that toilet shirtless. I used them, with great shame, to clean up the mess I had made upon myself, and they joined my boxers in the grave. Pants and shoes back on. No underwear or socks. I thought the battle was over. I didn't smell bad to the best of my knowledge, but I felt in desperate need of a long shower. The best I could do in the toilet was wash my hands before departing and finish my breakfast. As one last, big frick you to my sense of well-being. It turned out that there was no soap in this bathroom, either, and I briefly wondered how the employees cleaned up after touching their dongs. I used the hottest water I could stand and scrubbed for a few minutes without soap before returning to my seat, my friends none the wiser. Needless to say, I did not eat any more of my food. Irrelevant, but poop stories crack me up. When my sister and I were probably 7 and 6, my whole house had the stomach flu. We only have one bathroom and my dad was stuck on it since he was sick as well. Well, insane diarrhea hits both of it at pretty much the same time and we have nowhere to go. After trying to hold it, my mom suggests we run to my great grandmother's house, which is about 2 blocks away. She also only had one bathroom, so my sister and I make eye contact, and as soon as it hits that one is going to suffer the pain of having to wait longer, we bolt and then the race begins. I can still remember running as fast as my loose bowels would allow, and when I beat my sister up those wooden steps I'd known I'd won. I didn't bother closing the door when I managed to sit down, but from the hallway all I can hear is my grandmother trying to console my crying sister, who had in fact soiled herself. God awful scenario, but victory was mine. Bluetooth headphones connected to my iPhone on. I'm listening to music. My iPad in my Timbuktu bag begins blaring hardcore P starring Sasha Grey and 50 Guys. I don't hear it until I am off the quiet bus, a 40-minute ride, and a 55-minute MP3. The MP3 was nearly overplaying in its loud entirety the whole way. Yep, your comment contains so much product placement. I can't tell if it's intentional. Great story though. I threw up literally all over the place in the bathroom at work once. Office job. I was just feeling kinda queasy in the morning and figured I can manage. I'll be okay to work. On the upside, I don't think I'll ever be given a hard time for calling in sick. When I was 18, I'm 19 now, so still horribly scarred. I gave an impromptu speech to my 2 best friends at their graduation party in front of about 50 people. I stood up and started speaking, but stopped when my cheeks starting spazzing out. I mean violently shaking up and down to the point where people who weren't even that close could see. It made my nerves even worse, and I kept saying embarrassing things like, "Oh my god, why are my cheeks shaking?" As people laughed around me. I couldn't even really continue because they were spazzing so hard I couldn't talk. My friend's dad walked up to me and jokingly started massaging my cheeks, took the mic from me, and told me to finish sitting down, which I somehow managed to do. Pretty much ruined my already very non-existent self-confidence when it comes to public speaking. Since all the other stories had to do with crapping themselves, I was reading cheeks as in butt cheeks, and I thought it was really weird that your friend's dad was massaging your butt cheeks. Then I realized it was your regular cheeks, and that's still weird, but not as weird as massaging your butt. This is by far my greatest fear. I came so close to this being a reality only 2 years ago. I had just started a new job and was sent to NYC to meet with some of our important clients. We took them out to a certain Michelin 3-star for dinner. Everything was going well. We ate well, we drank well, and when we wrapped up, we all piled into a cab to head back to our hotel. As we snaked our way through NYC traffic in a cab, I could feel a rumble in the jungle, a hot pain in my gut. I started to sweat. I clenched. Oh god, did I clench. The worst part, I was in the middle seat. We were only about 4 blocks from our hotel and I just let out a yell. Stop. The cab driver slams on the brakes and I jump over my female co-worker. How I avoided crapping my pants by doing this, I have no idea. I then ran down the street to the first open door I could find. Inside there were a bunch of dudes renovating a restaurant. I asked if I could use the men's room. This one guy started to say no, but then his face kinda just went neutral as he saw the desperation in my eyes. He said go, and I ran into the men's room and released the most violent crap of my life. That was not a banner day for me, and ever since then I have been horrifically afraid of crapping my pants. The man who let you use the bathroom, that man is a hero. In grade school I really needed to go pee. I waited too long and pee myself right before I got to the stall. But I was clever, and my fellow students were dumb. It was a rainy day. I decided to play it off as me having fallen into a puddle of water. I spent the rest of the day in pee-soaked pants and nobody knew because we were all smelly kids anyways. You smelled like pee and your dumb fellow students knew it. This one time I had to crap so bad that my balls were hurting from having to clench my butt cheeks so hard. I was in the mall and couldn't remember where the bathrooms were, so I went from one end to the other trying to find somewhere to crap. I finally find one right as the turd is poking out, and as soon as I pull down my pants, it rockets out. Solid turd. and sits on the edge of the seat like a soggy cigar dangling its feet on the beaches of Shitville's coast. I didn't know what to do, so I just wiped, ran out and hoped the janitor wasn't too angry. I was on my way home on the subway and realized I will not make it, so I got off and tried to find an empty corner to take that stupid crap, but I couldn't find one and my body just gave up. I felt my undies fill with hot stinky liquid and felt it running down my leg. Finally I found an empty little road, let down my pants and let the rest get out. Best part, I had my dog with me and she tried to eat it. The best part is the worst part. I was in a shopping center with my mum when I was about 11-12 and had just ate a huge fry in a cafe. Suddenly, I feel a little bit sick. I'd eaten far too much and knew I was going to get sick, but thought I could hold it until I reached the bathroom. To our horror, the toilets in the cafe were both out of order for maintenance and the closest one was up an escalator on the first floor, directly above our heads. I ran to the escalator, my mother in tow, and proceeded to climb slowly towards my destination. As you may have guessed by now, I didn't make it. I ended up throwing up, a lot, all over an innocent old lady's back and hair, in front of a crowd of perhaps 150 bystanders. She turned around and offered me a plastic bag and asked if I was okay, as if nothing at all had happened. I left my mum to do the talking while I continued to vomit into the bag. This is the most horrific thing I've done in public. At least the old lady was sympathetic to your situation. Accidentally wore pajama pants under my jeans in maybe 3rd grade, had the shoots real bad, still recovering from diarrhea, went to the bathroom, pulled off my jeans, didn't notice that my pajamas were on underneath cause I was in such a rush, unleashed the Kraken. Bad times were had. One time, I was pretty freaking drunk and decided to walk home from a party. I was walking down the streets in this residential neighborhood, probably about 11 PM, wearing all black, when I realized that I have to pee and I'm not going to make it home. However, I was on probation at the time, and I knew a couple guys who had been written up for pee in public in my town. Too drunk to think straight, too scared to pee on the street, I ended up peeing my pants. Once it started, I was like, well, frick it, there's pee all in my pants now, so I just continued to pee my pants while walking. With the darkness and my black clothes, it was pretty much impossible to tell, but my pants were pretty well soaked through with pee by the time I got home. And let me tell you, walking down the street while freely pee all over yourself, there's nothing quite like it. A unique mixture of shame, embarrassment, and empowerment. Like, what the frick are you gonna do now, world? I'm peeing my pants and there isn't crap you can do about it. You got nothing left to hurt me. Now, I walked straight into the garage and threw the pants in the trash, then stumbled into the shower, washed myself off, and fell into bed naked. When I woke up the next morning, I realized that my socks and shoes also reeked of pee, so I threw those out too. Not my proudest moment. I ate escala fish and I got escala fish poisoning. I crapped oil out. On other occasions I have crapped myself a few times. On some of the times that I did it was because I had switched probiotic medications. Seriously, it was all horrifying and the people around me sure gave me heck. It is really embarrassing. I'm a bartender at a members only bar and banquet hall on my campus. So it's mostly professors and local CEOs who hold their banquets and various meetings there. These people usually are friendly but never really overtly talkative to the bartenders like at some places. Anyway, the club was hosting a very nice expensive banquet for one of the large businesses in the city, and the CEO turned up, which was kind of a big deal. Throughout the evening I had been chugging water because I was bartending and serving, so I was running around a lot and sweating my butt off. Naturally, about an hour later, I had to pee like Seabiscuit after a race. It was at this time that the big deal CEO comes over to the bar, orders a drink, and begins pouring his life story out to me. Not wanting to be rude, also wanting a nice tip, I was talking back to him and asking about his family, work, yada yada. The entire time I had my legs clamped tightly shut and was doing a major potty dance, trying everything. It didn't work. My bladder completely let loose and I began peeing all over the bar floor. The CEO gave me a strange look and asked if I had a faucet on. I laughed hysterically and grabbed the soda gun and started aiming it at the ground with soda water to make it look like I was cleaning the floor. We continued talking about his daughter's college career as I stood with pee-soaked pants. TLDR. I peed my pants in front of the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. On accident I crushed pigeon underneath my foot in front of a bunch of small children when I was younger. They called me a murderer and I agreed. At least you came to terms on nomenclature. I was in 2nd grade, and instead of urinals, they just had one of the long pee trough. Think narrow bathtub that everyone just lined up at. If you were lucky enough to stand at either end, then you could have a pee war. You could see who could pee the furthest. I'm guessing it was about 6 feet long. I won. I ended up hitting my opponent just above the belly button and in my disbelief, just kept pee. Soaked him pretty badly. The teacher made me stay in the bathroom with him until his mom got there with dry clothes. That was rather awkward. PS. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.